thank you for raising a difficult subject. You have courage to do this. We often don't hear this particular verse discussed too much, so great to hear them. You have given us a beautiful, long, somewhat complicated, description and justification of this verse, etc. But I suppose there is another way entirely to deal with this, which is to say that perhaps this verse has been completely mistranslated by most translators of the Holy Quran into the English language. In particular, there is one translation by Bakhtiar who uses the phrase "strike out a new path" as opposed to "strike" for the word daraba, and that translation of the Quran, I realize, has, there's people who question how good a translation that is, but to me what's important about it, and I'm no scholar, but it has been signed off on by Al-Azhar, right, which is, they have given her a fatwa, whatever, and it's included in the copy of the Quran, and you can see that it's right there. So my layperson way of thinking about this issue is that if it's good enough for Al-Azhar, right, in all of their historical greatness, to sign off on this particular translation or this particular interpretation, then why is it not good enough for a layperson like me? And her translation completely eliminates the possibility of any domestic violence.
Maybe I can use, no, this is not, okay, I'll just do this. I know the Layla Bakhtiar translation. I think the problem is, well, first of all, I have a lot of affection for Al-Azhar as an institution and for many of its scholars, but I'm not entirely confident in their review process. Now, they may well have, very qualified scholars may well have looked at this book and approved of it. The Azhar scholars, the senior Azhar scholars that I know and have asked about this, don't agree with that interpretation, the Bakhtiar interpretation, which has been advanced by others like Abdul Hamid, Abu Sulaiman, and Amina Wadud, amongst others. So my main problem with it is that, in the Islamic tradition of interpretation, there's something called Qanun al-Ta'wil, the rule of interpretation. And what that means is you can't الحقيقة لا تترك إلا إن تعذرت. The evident meaning is not abandoned until it proves impossible. Or you cannot do ta'wil, which is إخراج النص عن المعنى ظاهر إلى معنى غير ظاهر لسبب أوجب ذلك. That means you cannot abandon the evident meaning of a text for a non-evident meaning of the text unless there is some reason that requires that or justifies that. Okay? So if the Quran said إنما المشركون نجس, mushriks are polytheists, are literally filthy, and we knew from the Sunnah of the Prophet that every time he met a pagan, he went and washed his hands, and he wouldn't eat with them, etc., etc. The evident meaning would be also the intended meaning, because we have evidence. We have no. If I were to go and say, no, it doesn't mean literally najas, it means there's ideas. I'd say, what justification do you have for abandoning the evident meaning for this other meaning? The only justification is your own desire. So in the Sunnah of the Prophet, we have hadiths in Sahih Muslim and Tirmidhi and Abu Dawood that talk about the Prophet acknowledging that some level of striking a wife is acceptable. In addition, all the Muslim legal scholars who came after the first generations of Muslims believe that they didn't say this verse meant strike out a new path for them, or other possible meanings. So there's nothing to justify our choice of a non-evident meaning. There's nothing to justify. And when in that case, the only thing we're using is our own, what the Quran would call ahwa, our own whims, our own fancies. And they may be valuable fancies. I mean, they be just fancies. I don't think it's right for a husband to strike his wife and hurt her. Right? And I don't want my God and my holy book to say that to me. That's I don't impugn the integrity and the intention behind that desire. But the Quran is not interpreted according to our desires. The Quran is interpreted according to the Sunnah of the Prophet and the tradition of his teachings, alayhi salatu salam. And the traditions of his teachings are that the best of you will not strike. They are that you cannot harm your wife in any way. They are that, according to, for example, the Shafi'i school, that striking your wife is makruh tahriman. It's disliked to the point of almost being haram. But as one of my teachers in Azhar, Sheikh Ali Jum'ah, who's recently been, just say come under some, I think, justified criticism for his political opinions. We won't get into that, but his explanation was, the Quran is a book that is revealed for all people, all times, every community. And he says that there are some places in the world where, women really won't listen to their husbands unless their husband smacks them. That seems very strange to me and foreign to me and repulsive to me. But then again, so does marrying a 12-year-old. And there's for most of human history, including in my own ancestors, direct ancestors that I know about, no one had any problem with a 50-year-old guy marrying a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old. And to me now, that seems like, it makes me violently ill. But the world doesn't run by my reactions. It doesn't run by our culture. It's a big place, a diverse place. And the Quran is a text for all that world. I asked Sheikh Ali when we were talking about this, I said, well, what do you, don't you think this verse is going to gives a blank check to husbands as to harm their wives? And he says, well, this is the job of ulama. This is the job of Muslim scholars. They have to go out and teach people. You can't strike your wife. You can't hurt your wife. If you strike her, you have to do it in a way that doesn't hurt her. And if you hurt her, she has every right to drag you in front of court, and you're going to have to pay for her injuries. And the judge can well give her a divorce, and you can lose all the dowry. You promised her $50,000 mu'akhar mahar. You're going to have to drop $50,000 mu'akhar mahar. You're going to pay for a nafaqah. So watch it. And one scholar, Muhammad Tahir ibn Ashur, a famous Tunisian scholar, died in 1973. He's a fascinating scholar because he's a traditional scholar. He lived so long, he lived into the modern world. He was a Sharia court judge in Tunisia. He says his understanding of the verse, because the verse that comes after it, after 434, is the verse really that Muslim scholars paid attention to, which says, "In khifta shaqaqa baynahuma, fa'ab'atha hakaman min ahlihi wa hakaman min ahliha." If you fear, it's not talking about the husband now, it's talking to society. If you, the court, fear that they're going to split apart, send an arbitrator from her family, an arbitrator from his family, and if they want us to reconcile, God will make that possible. So this was actually the way that Muslim scholars as judges understood their role, that they were supposed to try and reconcile the couple. And so Ibn Ashur says that it's only the court that has the right to discipline the husband, to discipline the wife or a husband physically. He says in our society today, husbands will take advantage of this verse, 434. They'll abuse it. They'll harm their wives. So we need to actually tell husbands it's illegal for them to strike their wives. Only the Muslim judge, a qadi, and the court, they can punish a wife for her nushuz, not the husband.